Hey guys, 27th February balance patch preview just dropped and my favorite waifu just got buffed. Yup, it's Lone Crescent Bellona, and there are two big and obvious reasons why I like her. But more than that are the voice lines and animations, so let's take a look at them.
I'll wrap things up momentarily. Become like the autumn leaves and scatter upon the ground. Is that all you
Okay,
had
so
to
that's
show
the
me?
S3.
My
I don't really think
tea is
they're
getting
allowed for
cold.
using the S2, so I can't really show that. But yeah, those are animations. I used to use her a lot to fight against Navy Captain Landy during high meta, and honestly, Bellona did her job of critting all these anti-crit units really well. However, as you could guess, as more units release, the kit simply couldn't allow her to keep up with the shifting meta, and before long, she just simply became unusable. However, a long-awaited buff is finally here. I've actually already read all the buffs, so I'll just be going through the ones that she got and my thoughts on them. And her buffs are right here, as you can see on the screen. Okay, so her skill 1 used to be just a simple damage dealing single target, giving her immunity. However, now she does not get any more immunity here, but don't worry, it comes later in the S3. But as of now, she gets some damage as health, so it's kind of like building lifesteal. I like this part a lot because it kind of gives us other options for artifacts instead of Sigurds. It used to be only Sigurds. And it also inflicts up to 10% injuries, which is pretty nice since the current meta is really tanky, turn 2 kind of playstyle, where a lot of units are really beefy. So that's pretty good. So you can also see that they did buff the base damage of the S1 on top of the Soban also increasing damage dealt, which is actually interesting because her old S1 already did quite a lot of damage, especially with the Soban. So I'm excited to see what it can do after the patch. Alright, let's take a look at the S2. The new one, for every surviving ally, increases evasion by 15%, so this will bring it up to 60. I don't know about this because, you can tell it's trying to increase her survivability further, but even within this balance patch itself, there's already two units off the top of my head that basically invalidate this buff, namely Zeno, who just simply cuts the entire enemy team evasion by 50%, and Tori, who gives herself 50% hit chance on S3. So I don't know if 60% is gonna be enough. We all have experience with Random Violet or New Kid Aiden, 70% higher than 60, and already breaking a lot of our hearts. Yeah. So the rest of the S2 changes are just more damage, injury, and a slightly larger push, which is nice I guess, but it's nothing substantial. Now for S3, she now gives herself Vigor before doing the attack, which is really nice. I don't know why it wasn't the case before. And that's where the immunity comes in for 2 turns after the S3. So you don't really have to worry about the immunity not being there in the kit at all. It's right there. And they also increase the base damage dealt, which is nice, I guess. So with the extra 30% attack from the Vigor and the base damage dealt, it would be pretty interesting to see how much damage it will do after the patch. Okay, so overall, I don't think all these changes are gonna make her really shine in RTA. As the current meta, she is still weak to debuffers who can strip, even though she has self-immunity. Because first of all, she has to take a turn to give herself immunity. As you can see from my build right here, I'm not saying this is the good build, it's just the build I used to use against Naval Captain Lady in the past. It's definitely probably gonna change, maybe counter set since her S1 seems pretty good now. But yeah, my gear is also pretty bad, so yeah, there's that. But anyway, so units like Swift Flight Barrier Segre, Wish of the Tenebria, they just even if she has a 2-turn immunity, they just go S3 straight and debuff her to hell. And there's also another weakness would be even though she has an evasion, but it's not gonna save her from units like Renat. Just penetrate defense. It doesn't really care whether you evade or not, and then inflict additional damage. She's still gonna take a lot of damage. So if In fact, if more of her weaknesses were covered in the buffs, she would definitely be more usable in RTA. But for modes like Guild War or Flag Arena, there will definitely be her own use cases. However, there will likely be better alternatives. So, despite the changes not being as great as I would hoped, she's still my favorite character design-wise, and nothing will ever change that. And that's it from me. Thanks for watching and goodbye.